If someone tells you the
If
offside rule
someone tells you
changed in
the offside rule
2026,
changed in
they're half right
2026,
and half wrong. Because there is a new offside system being
They're
tested
half
right
right.
now that could completely change football. But here's the catch. It is not the rule being used at the 2026
and
World Cup.
half wrong.
So today, we're separating fact from football internet nonsense.
because there is a new
What's actually
offside system
changed?
being
What's
tested
still
right
being
now
tested?
that could
And
completely
what the hell
change
is going
football.
on with offside? Let's break it down. For the last decade, offside has been one of the most controversial calls in football. A toe, an armpit, a shoulder. Sometimes a few centimeters can decide whether a goal stands or gets wiped off the board. And with the 2026 World Cup happening, social media is absolutely full of confusion about the rules. So let's start with the rule that actually matters. The standard offside law. Basically, an attacker is in an offside position if, when their teammate plays the ball, a part of their head, body, or feet that can legally score is closer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second last opponent. And there's one more condition. They have to be in the opponent's half. Simple enough, right? But here's a quick one people forget. You cannot be offside directly from a throw-in, a goal kick, or a corner. Now let's get to the part that's actually new. SAOT, Semi-Automated Offside Technology. And yes, this one is real. It's being used at the 2026 World Cup. Instead of relying entirely on humans trying to freeze frame a player's position at exactly the right moment, the technology tracks players and the ball in real time. It can track body positions and create incredibly detailed 3D data about where players are on the pitch. So when there's a possible offside, the system can identify the situation much faster. And that means faster decisions, less waiting, and hopefully fewer people screaming at their TV for 3 minutes wondering why VAR is taking so long. But remember, the technology changed. The basic offside law didn't suddenly become the Wenger Law. And that's where things get really interesting. You've probably heard about something called the Wenger Law. Here's the idea. Instead of an attacker being offside because just one legal scoring part of their body is ahead of the defender, the attacker would only be offside if their entire body was ahead. So, if you're level with the defender, onside. If part of your body is behind the defender, onside. Basically, you'd have much more freedom to attack the defensive line. Sounds great for attackers, right? Well, it could completely change football. The idea has been pushed by Arsene Wenger and has been tested in lower-level competitions in several countries. And early reports from some trials suggested that scoring increased significantly. More attacking space, more runs in behind, potentially more goals. But defenders weren't exactly celebrating, because changing the offside line like this could completely change defensive tactics. Teams would have to defend differently. Backlines could drop deeper. Attackers could start runs earlier. And suddenly, some of the movement we've been watching for years would look completely different. But here's the part you really need to remember. The Wenger Law is not being used at the 2026 World Cup. Let me say that again. It is not the World Cup offside rule. The current standard offside law is still being used. The whole body version remains a trial rather than the new elite level standard. So if somebody tells you, "Bro, offside changed for the World Cup. You can be ahead of the defender now." No, not quite. They're mixing up a trial with the actual law. And that's not the only thing that's changed in football. There are several other rule updates you should know about. First, goalkeepers. If a goalkeeper holds the ball for more than 8 seconds, they can now be punished by giving the opposition a corner. Yes, 8 seconds. So that classic move where the goalkeeper catches the ball, walks around, looks at the clock, and waits for everyone to calm down? Yeah, that's becoming a lot riskier. There are also new VAR provisions covering certain situations, including mistaken identity and some incorrectly awarded corners. There are also stricter consequences for players who leave the pitch to protest referee decisions. And substituted players now have a limited amount of time to leave the field. The message from the rule makers is pretty clear. Less wasting time, faster decisions, less unnecessary chaos. Now, if you're actually a player, here's what you should take from all of this. Stop watching only the last defender. Your offside position is judged against the second last opponent. That's the player you need to be reading. And with modern tracking technology making these decisions more precise than ever, timing your run is everything. Don't just sprint as soon as you see space. Stay level. Watch the defensive line. Then explode into the space at the right moment. And here's the interesting part. If the Wenger-style rule ever becomes official, attacking players could get even more freedom. That means learning how to split a defensive line, attack space, and time. Your runs could become even more valuable. But for now, don't train based on a rule that doesn't exist at the top level yet. So let's make this ridiculously simple. The standard offside law? Still here? SAOT and advanced tracking? Real. And being used at the 2026 World Cup? The Wenger Law? Still a trial, not the World Cup rule. And the 8-second goalkeeper rule, updated VAR provisions, and stricter rules around protests and substitutions? Those are real changes you need to know about. So the next time someone says, "Football completely changed the offside rule in 2026," you can hit them with the facts. The technology changed. Some laws changed. But the World Cup did not suddenly switch to whole-body offside. And honestly, if this video saved you from one absolutely pointless football argument in the group chat, I've done my job. Now tell me in the comments, what's the most ridiculous offside call you've ever seen? Drop it below. I'll pick the wildest ones and break them down in the next video. And if you want more football rules, tactical breakdowns, and the stuff happening behind the game, subscribe. Because football is changing, and we're breaking it down.